Hi everyone. This video will serve as an introduction to the course Topics in Ancient World History. I just want to go briefly through some of the points in the syllabus and then look at the course Canvas page. If you have questions after that, please post them to the course logistics discussion board, or if your question is of a more personal nature, feel free to email me directly. One thing to note from the beginning is that I will hold a Zoom session every Thursday at 11 a.m. That's Eastern Daylight Time. This is optional. This is absolutely not required, but it is a good chance for you to kind of have some time with me to ask questions, to talk over assignments, maybe if you have questions about course content, all of that, right? So students who have taken my courses in the past, who have availed themselves of this opportunity in online courses have said that it was pretty helpful. So again, not required, but that is something that you're encouraged to consider. I don't want to look through too much of the course description. I'm certainly not going to read all of this, but suffice it to say that this is a topics-based course. We're not going to deal with the whole of world civilization in the ancient world. We will have some kind of brief overviews of several of these, and then we will dig into some topics. The topics they're really kind of three topics. The first is the development of law and its connection to warfare in the ancient world, specifically in the Bronze and Iron Ages. The second one is the development of religion and philosophy in what's called the Axial Age, which is kind of the first millennium BCE, roughly. And then the third, we're going to look at some ancient civilizations in moments of crisis. Specifically, our case studies there are Greece during the Peloponnesian War and Rome during the late Republican era. And there are some primary sources that will help us get into that. It's important to note that we're trying to engage with both primary and secondary sources in this class. If you don't know what those are, we can have discussion about that. But briefly, primary sources are sources. They can be written or otherwise. They can be material remains or art or something like that too. But mostly written sources that come from, or at least close to, the time period and the circumstances in question. Right. Secondary sources are studies done by modern scholars who are reading the primary sources and offering interpretations of these. This class is weighted very heavily toward primary sources. Most of your assignments, the midterm exam, and the three source analysis papers are all about primary sources. We will read one monograph, a secondary source, and you'll write a book review on that. So there will be some of both of those. We can look through the learning outcomes, or feel free to do that, right? The important thing is, as with any history class, you're trying to understand the context of the people who lived during the time periods we're studying, and use that understanding of context to interpret the things that they did, to ask why did they do these things the way they did them, how did this happen, and why did it happen the way it did, right? Those are the key questions. The history is not just a collection of trivia about, names and dates and things like that. It's really about understanding or analyzing human behavior. And so, in order to understand the behavior of peoples of the past, we have to know what circumstances they lived in and what would have influenced them and such things. And so the class will proceed with me, you reading the textbook, and watching a series of short videos that I've prepared about the context, and then looking at primary sources and trying to kind of make sense of what was going on in the past, right? These are the books you need for the class. These last four, Confucius, the Bhagavad Gita, the Euripides text, and the Cicero, these are all primary sources. In addition to that, the Karen Armstrong is the secondary source. This is a monograph about the development of world religions in what's called the Axial Age, and again, we'll talk about what that is later. So you need to. These are all in physical copy, or you can have electronic copies as well. I don't mind that. But you need to buy these. The bookstore has all of them for purchase. The other book you need, though, is this book called This Small Spot. Full disclosure, I am one of the authors of this, and I wrote most of the chapters that we will be reading for this class, or I should say about half of them, or something like that. Anyway, this can be found. Let me shift to a browser here. I posted this on an announcement, but this is at a place called redshelf.com. You'll see that it's $20. This purchases lifetime access. You can read it on any device. You can print, I believe, about 10% of it if you want to do that. But you need to obtain that book throughout, especially the first part of the course. We're going to be spending a lot of time, in that book. That'll be kind of the essential reading to get the contextual information. So please don't delay. Get that immediately. The course requirements. Every week there will be a discussion board, and over the course of that week, you need to first make an initial post of 250 words. There are specific due dates for the initial posts that we can look at in the schedule in a couple of minutes. And then you need to offer at least 2 responses to your course mates' posts. This includes me, by the way. I will try to post as much as I can on there too, responding to your posts. Feel free to respond to me, to your classmates. But you need to make at least 2 responses by the end of the week, the last day of the week, whatever that day is. Because this term starts on a Wednesday and ends on a Friday, the weeks normally run Monday to Sunday, but that is only the case for, I think, half of the weeks, 3 of the 6 weeks. Anyway, we can look at those due dates. Just keep track of those due dates. Make sure you get your posts in by those times. And I will provide a lot of questions to prompt you on the posts. Just make sure that you're engaging with this at a more than kind of trivial level, right? Each week is its own distinct thing, 10 points each week for a total of 60 points. There will be a midterm exam, which is really just I give you a set or excerpts from some of the primary sources that we discuss over the first couple of weeks, and you write short essays on kind of what's going on there, analyzing those things, okay? The book review, we said over Armstrong. The primary source explorations, these are 4 to 5 page, double-spaced analytical papers on assigned primary sources, and these will be prompted as well. Those are the last 3 weeks of the course that we'll be doing those assignments. Gosh, this one should not be here. I apologize. I'm going to delete that because that shouldn't even be there. So anyway, that gives you a sense of what's required for the course, okay? So this should actually be 245 points. I'm adjusting on the fly as I'm creating this. That was a mistake. Anyway, I've taken an old syllabus and used it as the kind of template here. You'll see that each week is scheduled out, right? So the first week runs from the 5th through the 10th of July. That's only 6 days. Normally it's 7 days, okay? And so over the course of that week, you need to read, the textbook information. You need to read these 3 primary sources. You need to watch these 5 video lectures in addition to this, this course introduction video. They're about 15 minutes each. Some of them are slightly shorter. I think one of them is slightly longer. But these are not onerous, long slogs through a lot of material. I try to do these as quickly as I can to give you the essential information. Okay. You'll find all these on Canvas, of course. And then the only assignment for the first week is to do the discussion board. The first post needs to be made by July 8th, which is actually a Saturday. Right, that's just the way that the whole schedule kind of worked out. And then the week's going to run through Monday. So that'll be July 10th, right? And you can see that this goes on. There's almost always a reading in the textbook, a few primary sources, video lectures, and then assignments. That midterm is due by July 17th. Once we get later in the course, some of the textbook will drop out, and we'll be reading longer primary sources like Confucius and the Bhagavad Gita, Plato's Symposium, and these sorts of things, Trojan Women and Cicero later in the course. Okay. Good. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what you need to do, and how the course is organized. I do provide a grading key, and I also provide these book review guidelines for that particular assignment. Let's look briefly at the Canvas page here. I haven't published it yet because I'm waiting to insert this video and get that in there. So you'll see that if you want to access the syllabus, you can go to the syllabus tab. Okay, it's right there. But the most important tabs that you should keep track of are, well, the modules is like your one-stop shopping. Okay, you'll see here under week 1. Now this is still under construction. I've got week 1 and most of week 2 inserted here, but I'm still working on 3, 4, 5, and 6. But this material appears in the same order as you see it on the syllabus, right? So the syllabus, I'm going to put the course introduction video right there, and then here are the primary source readings. I give you all my PowerPoints that I use in making the videos, so if you want to, print those out and make notes on them or something, it's there for you, okay? But then here are all of the videos, the prehistory, earliest civilizations, and so forth and so on, and then the assignments will come at the bottom. The week 1 discussion board is the only assignment for the week, so you've got all of your stuff for week 1 right here under modules. And then week 2, proceeds the same way with the assignments and things at the bottom. Okay, so hopefully that is sufficient information to get you started on this, to help you know where you're going. If you have questions, I have created this course logistics discussion board. Okay. Please post your questions there, because chances are if you have questions about the course, others do too. If you email me directly, then that information doesn't, my response doesn't get out to everyone. And so unless there is, something personal that you need to discuss with me, please post your questions on the course logistics discussion board. All right. So I look forward to the term with you, and good luck with everything. And please be in touch if you have questions. Thanks.